Very good morning to all of you. I am Sonam Dubey, Assistant Professor in SIRT Bhopal. Now, today I have discussed about the topic CSS, that is Cascading Style Sheet. Now, the CSS basically related with the IWT, that is Internet and Web Technology. Now, this is the intro to CSS. In this chapter, we have covered the basics of CSS, why to use CSS, CSS for scanning your website, and now structures how we apply the CSS syntax in various codes, and three places CSS can be defined, and specific syntax and inheritance in cascading style sheet. Now, what is CSS? CSS basically stands for cascading style sheet. This is basically described how basic HTML elements are to be displayed on screen, paper or in other media. And it basically the CSS saves a lot of work in can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once. So where we can use the various types of CSS. So this is the normal structure of CSS in which we can see the body, the div, and the P stand for paragraph, and body we have written anything inside the body. Suppose we have to write some paragraph inside it, then we can easily write in style sheet. Now, what is the need of CSS? So when we develop any code inside the CSS, we can see it saves a lot of work because it can use a multiple font size, multiple styling. When we use the HTML code for styling purpose, we can write a multiple size of codes that are very lengthy. But when we are using the CSS, we can easily use the short syntax and some kinds of presentations here. So we can see using CSS we can make our site more attractive. So this is the simple easiest way to present the CSS. When we start the CSS, we can see it is starting with the font size, like font size starting equals to 40 px. Px stands for pixels. And this is our first header. Then we can close the font tag, and then inside the font tag we can also define font size, colors, faces, and suppose we can display the 14px like in second header also. Now, separate content from form. Suppose we have to include certain content like starting with the p tag, classes header information, and the second header and the second information. Inside the first header we can write my first header, and inside the second information my information first goes here, and the second header my second header, and in the next one the next information which is displayed. And in next, form and styles. For form and styling we can include different kinds of header like font size 14px and information like font family, Verdana, Italian, and font color equals to blue, and font size equals to 12px. Now, what does this separation get us? The separate content from form specify the style once for every instances for that class. For example, specify the font once for all text on the HTML pages that you have identified as a header. When we have to write anything inside the content, we have to just write. Suppose we have a paragraph for CSS like introduction of CSS pages or introduction of various styling sheets, so we can just include as a header. Then we can write this all paragraph inside the header. And the style sheet can be separate file which all HTML pages on your entire site can link to. That means in CSS we have three categories like inline CS, external CSS and internal CS. In internal CS we can just write the code inside the body section. And second one is inline CSS. In inline CSS we can also use a tag that is said to be style tag. We have to write the style tag and ending style tag, and inside it we can write a paragraph. And the last one is external CSS. Inside the external CSS we can just form or we can just write a different file and that are reference to these documents or these codes. We can just include these file inside the CSS or HTML code. So this is the third basic type of CSS. And the third one can change the style for your entire sites by editing only one file. And suppose we have to upgrade or we have to update some information inside the CSS style sheet, so we can easily upgrade our database. Now CSS scanning. The CSS scanning basically it change the looking of a page or your website, like selecting an appearance by choosing which style sheet to use. Suppose we have to link another reference site to this CSS site, so we can easily add up. Suppose link rel equals to style sheet type text or CSS h reference equals to skin.css. What is the meaning of this link? So starting with the link, we can see REL stand for the relation with the style sheet, and the type declaration, that is either in the form of text or any style sheet like CSS, and href stand for h references. That means we have another file that the name is skin.css, and we have to just include this skin.css file to these style sheet. So we can say here we can use the external CSS, and inside it we can just also write some kinds of information or paragraph. Like in P section we can just see my information goes here, and we can just include the background color, family phone colors and whatever. So we can say CSS is the language we use to style an HTML document. It not only describes how HTML elements should be displayed and how we can use. Now, just an example, we can see when we are using all these type of CSS inside our HTML code, we can use different types of menu also, and CSS template, and using this template we can easily add up new things also, and inside it we can also see the CSS references like various CSS properties, selectors, browser supports, functions, animatable and different things. Now inside the CSS property we can see different types of properties like assign color, alignment, aligns items, animation delay, animation directions, animation duration, animation full mode, iterations, name, play state and timing function. So these are some properties. Using these properties we can inherit the CSS. Now the CSS syntax. The three elements to a CSS statement. There are three basic things that are used inside the CSS, like the selector, properties and value. In this paragraph you can see, suppose we have an example h1 colors colon and red. So here we can see h1 is the selector, color is the property and red is the value, and the properties plus value make a declaration part. So we can see there are two parts. One is selector and the second one is declaration. Inside selector we can see different types of headings we can add, just starting from the h1, h2, h3, h4, h5 and h6. And inside the declaration we can see different types of properties and values, like we can see font size, font color and font alignment, like this. So this is said to be a declaration. And the property said what attribute of the HTML selection will be affected. That means inside it we can see different types of attributes, and the value say what change will be made to that particular attribute. Now 3 CSS definition location: inline, internal and external. These are some codes of these types. Inside the first one we can see starting p tag, style, font color red, font size 10 pixels and content, then closing p tag. Here the p tag stand for paragraph, and style is used for giving the styling to the HTML code. And these are some declaration part: font color, font size and content. Now the next one is internal CSS. In internal CSS we can also describe, we can add some codes like background color, font family, font color, styles, head, content and body, and all these things are we can describe inside the body part. Suppose in internal sheet we have to use some kinds of styles, so we can just write the link and we can just write the code inside the body part. And in the last one is external CS, the CSS style sheet file. In CSS style, in this we can just reference another file which is saved in different drives, and we can just take up from there and reference to these one side. Now the CSS syntax selector. There are many kinds of selectors and many ways to reference them, like by using type, class, ID and procedure code we can use for giving the selector. Now cascading inheritance. We can also read about the inheritance. Inheritance is the property by which the properties of one class acquire the properties of next class. This is inheritance. We can already studied in different programming languages like CSS, C++ and object-oriented programming, where we can see the different concept of classes, objects and polymorphism, like that. So here the cascading inheritance, the nested elements inherit the properties from its parent. Here we can see starting tag body, div, then p, and him we can write the paragraph inside it. If you specify style for the body tag, it will affect all content in your HTML page. If you want to override inherited settings, you need to specify style in a more local element. Now CSS applied. We can use different types of things where we can use a CSS. Okay, now thank you.